All right. Well, thanks for connecting. Happy to have you here and interested in the Department of Bioengineering at the University of California, Riverside in our BS in Bioengineering major. So my name is Will Grover. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Bioengineering at UC Riverside, but I'm also the faculty advisor. So among the 21 professors in the Department of Bioengineering, I'm sort of the first point of contact for our undergraduate students who want to learn more about the major or some strategies for success in the major and planning for their careers in bioengineering. And so that's part of why I'm here talking to you tonight. And I'm joined here tonight with by my colleague, Professor Rob McKee, who's a professor of teaching in the department and teaches some of our really awesome classes. And he'll be able to answer some questions if they come up along with myself later on. So let's kick it off here with my slides. And here, let's just start with maybe an obvious question, but an important one is what the heck is bioengineering, right? Why are we here? Why are you maybe interested in this major? Or if you're not, why should you be? So here's a few little definitions of this that I've put together and collected just to make sure we're all on the same page as to what it is that we do in this major. So one definition of bioengineering is that it's the application of principles of biology and the tools of engineering to create usable, tangible, economically viable products. Okay, so you see the engineering flavor there. It's application driven, right? There's a goal, something that you're trying to achieve. It could be a product. It could be something broader than that. We're going to apply principles from biology and combine them with the tools of engineering to create these things. Another definition of a related field, biomedical engineering, is it's applying engineering principles and design concepts to medicine and biology for healthcare purposes, so human health purposes like diagnostics, therapeutics. So biomedical engineering seeks to close the gap between engineering and medicine, combining the design and problem-solving skills from engineering with the medical sciences to all come together and advance healthcare treatment, diagnosis, monitoring, therapy, things like that. All right. So you see that Venn diagram of engineering and the overlap with human health. That's where bioengineering lives. So we're interested in employing knowledge and expertise from a wide range of pure and applied sciences. That's another thing that I think attracts folks to this discipline. It requires a broad view of a lot of different fields because, well, human health problems are difficult, right? Challenges we face in medicine require input from all kinds of different disciplines, not just biology, but chemistry and physics and math and computer science, and definitely the engineering principles as well. The ultimate goal of biomedical engineering is creating technologies that reduce suffering and improve the quality of life. So hopefully something I said on that slide resonates with you. If it does, then this might be the right major for you. What does this major prepare you for in terms of jobs? Well, there's a website the government runs, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I encourage you to look it up. You can look at any major you might be considering and learn about what the government and their studies feel the job outlooks are like for that major. So here's the page for bioengineers and biomedical engineers. And I won't show you a ton of material from this. You can look it up on your own, but I'll highlight a few things that I think are really pretty good and pretty accurate. Bioengineers, biomedical engineers do things like designing equipment and devices like artificial organs, replacement body parts, machines that you would be looking at and interface with in a hospital or a doctor's office. Those are great jobs for bioengineers. They might install or maintain or provide support for equipment like that. They might collaborate with staff on the designing and maintaining that kind of equipment. They might train folks on how to use these sorts of things. They might work with scientists on how to apply engineering principles to biological systems, do modeling, simulations, statistical or modeling software. A lot of work in bioengineering goes into that, where we're simulating not just a machine or something, but simulating the human body or simulating molecules and cells and tissues within the body. A lot of writing, because you have to be able to not just do awesome science and engineering, but communicate it to people. Presenting and sharing our results to other folks, including, this is the second to the last from the bottom, and I think this is an important one, including a variety of audiences, including scientists, clinicians, managers, other engineers, and the public. You know, bioengineers are kind of unique for this, right? The analogy I like to use is like the interpreters at the United Nations. You know, they are special because they are able to communicate in 17 or 18 different languages, right? Bioengineers have to have that same superpower because we're interfacing not just with the other engineers in an engineering team, but we're also interfacing with clinicians, doctors, surgeons, right? And potentially patients, right? The general public. Again, healthcare problems bring all of these different groups together. And I would say no one member of all of those groups is better suited to be the glue that communicates and holds it all together, better suited than the bioengineer is for that. And then finally, qualities that make a good bioengineer, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics: analytical skills, communication skills, creativity, ability to do math and solve problems. If any of that sounds interesting to you, I hope it does, then bioengineering might be very interesting for you. Okay, so first, what is our name? Well, we call ourselves bioengineering. About half of the bioengineering, biomedical engineering programs in the University of California system call themselves bioengineering, like we do, and about the other half call themselves biomedical engineering or some permutation thereof. Listen, I'm here to tell you that there's really not much distinction between these names, especially among the different UC campuses that you might be considering and applying to. Um, Really, all of our programs are similarly focused on human health. We could easily call ourselves biomedical engineering, and maybe we will one day, who knows? But I like the name bioengineering because I think it's a little broader. It includes things that bioengineers can do that are working at the interface between health and engineering, but not directly focused on human health. I might even mention an example of that later on. But don't fixate on whether a department or a program calls itself bioengineering versus biomedical. We're talking about the same thing here, regardless. So, to finish this little intro to the field, here's my Venn diagram of who makes a really good student in this program in bioengineering or biomedical engineering. Students that are out there that want to make the world a better place, improve quality of life, reduce suffering. I find our students often respond to and would identify with that statement. Indeed, a lot of pre-meds, a lot of people interested in going into being a doctor or a health professional might also be motivated by that. But the other part of the Venn diagram is shown here. Our students also love to build, create, tinker, take things apart, program computers, build Lego, and solve math and problem solving and practical stuff like that, right? Those, the yellow circle there, are the skills of an engineer. And so the bioengineers, I'll highlight them here in the middle, they're this little overlap between wanting to make the world a better place and reduce suffering and improve quality of life, and also being one of those nerdy engineer types that enjoys all those things that I just mentioned there. If that's you, if you'd like to have a foot in each of those communities, this is the major for you. If the yellow part doesn't interest you, if you just want to be a doctor, well, bioengineering can be an okay preparation for medical school, but there's other options out there as well. But if you really want to have a foot in both of these communities and be in the intersection of those two circles, this is the major for you. So next, I want to very quickly introduce you and show you at least a word or two about the 21 faculty in the bioengineering department. I think this is important because these are the folks that will be teaching you the bulk of your classes. And these are folks who are at the forefront of their research careers as well. And their research expertise, filters over and runs into the classroom as well. We teach classes about the things that we're experts in from research. So it's worth knowing about the really amazing things these folks are doing for two reasons. One, you'll be seeing them in your classes, and two, you'll have the opportunity to contribute to their research and work in their labs if you so choose. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But I'll do this quickly because there's 21 people and I don't want to keep you here for 3 hours. But if you want to learn any more about anyone I'm mentioning here tonight, go to the website shown there at the bottom and you can read about them and go to their websites. Okay, here we go. Alphabetical order, starting with the A's. Professor Bauman and Vari, regenerative medicine, biomedical imaging, photonics, really cool stuff like systems you can shine a laser on something and heal it, science fiction, really cool. Professor Juhong Chen, biosensors and instrumentation, applications in things like food safety. Imagine a package of meat with a little sticker on it, and the sticker changes color if the meat is contaminated with E. coli or something that might make you sick if you eat it. He does that kind of research, really cool stuff. Professor Kevin Friedman develops awesome, super awesome sensors that can detect single molecules and analyze them and use this information to diagnose diseases and do amazing research. Very cool guy. This handsome fellow here is speaking to you right now. I said I'm the undergrad faculty advisor. In my research lab, we develop sensors, medical devices, especially trying to create tools for use in resource-limited settings for various health-related challenges. Professor Jia Guo is one of several faculty in the Department of Bioengineering who focuses on MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. So in case you'd ever been to a hospital or know someone who has, and you went into that big donut-shaped machine, the MRI that does imaging of your brain or other body parts, we have actually quite a strength in imaging, MRI imaging, and also the brain as well in this department. So while we have a lot of diversity and research and classes on a whole range of topics, I got to tell you that if you're interested in the brain or interested in medical imaging, in particular MRI, this is a particularly strong department to be involved in, and the students benefit from that expertise. So he's one of a handful of folks who develop new techniques for those instruments like the MRI. Professor Xiaoping Hu is another one of those MRI-related folks. He's also our department chair. And so he's in imaging. He's also the head of our campus MRI. And so UCR is kind of unique because we actually have on campus our own MRI machine that we use for research. You know, a lot of our sister campuses have to share an MRI with a hospital or something where it mostly works on patients. But in our case, we're lucky. Our MRI is 100% dedicated to research. Professor Hu runs it. And heck, students can even volunteer and have their head scanned and participate in research projects. Professor Elena Cacconi does really super cool neurorehabilitation and biomechanics. So imagine like Iron Man-like wearable exoskeletons that even young kids or newborns can wear to help them recover from various conditions that they might be born with. Professor Chung-Hao Lee is a relatively new faculty in the department working on computer simulations of the circulatory system, things like heart valves and stents, and everything understanding how blood flows through your blood vessels to keep that whole system moving healthily and understanding how it works. Professor Jiayu Liao, he's an engineer that works more on the molecular level. So he's developing whole new drugs for things like influenza, for COVID early on in the pandemic, things like that. So he's designing bioengineering on the molecular scale, designing novel drugs. Professor Huinan Liu is also part of our materials science department as well. And she's also the associate dean for our college, the Bournes College of Engineering, the associate dean for student academic affairs. Her research is in biomaterials for all sorts of neat medical applications. Imagine an implant that would be put into your body and it serves its purpose and then it dissolves away 6 months or a year later when you no longer need it. That's the kind of research she works on. Professor Amy Masumi is a professor of teaching in the department. Her research is in polymer development for biomedical applications. And when she teaches our classes, the students learn a great deal about that topic, courtesy her expertise in that field. Professor Rob McKee, I introduced you to a moment earlier, but he's our professor of teaching as well in the department, and his background expertise is in understanding kidney injury from his experience back as a grad student. And so Professor Josh Morgan is interested in age-associated disease. So his lab is looking at everything involved with aging, right, in our bodies as we get older and things change, trying to understand common mechanisms and themes involved in aging. Because if we can understand aging, we can start to intervene and improve people's outcomes and prolong our happy, healthy lives for a greater period of time, which is great. Professor Jin Nam is into biomaterials and regenerative medicine, so super cool bioengineer doing things like printing, like 3D printing scaffolds that you can seed with cells and grow artificial organs and things like that. That's the kind of work that his research is aiming toward. Professor Iman Nashadi does biomaterials as well. He's interested in things like, oh goodness, so much good stuff. A smart bandage, for example, that not only would protect a wound, but also is creating an environment that promotes healing and that sort of thing. One of many different kinds of projects that Professor Nashadi is working on. Professor Julia Palermo is a computational biophysicist. So her work in her lab is mostly computers, and she's able to do amazing things simulating how molecules interact with each other for all kinds of cool applications, generally involving understanding molecular systems and then engineering useful things like new enzymes and drug molecules. Super cool research. And she's also an accomplished artist, which is super amazing. Professor Hyle Park. Here I highlight he's also our graduate advisor. So some of our students go on to graduate degrees, like a master's degree or a PhD degree in bioengineering or related field. And so Professor Park is available to advise students about those sorts of degrees if they're interested in going on to those after they finish their bachelor's degree with us. His own research is in medical devices and photonics, really cool research. Professor Victor Rogers also does computational bioengineering, but also some engineering of really lovely devices that can solve human health problems. For example, treating traumatic brain injuries, like when a football player or someone gets a hard hit and they might have a concussion and there's swelling afterwards that can cause damage to the brain material. He's developing devices that can reduce that swelling and reduce the brain damage. Professor Shahab Vedat is one of our newer faculty here. He's interested in neural circuits, brainstem, and spinal cord. Again, the neural side of things and how to help patients recover from strokes. Professor Val Vulev is interested in, oh my goodness, a whole range of different things, medical devices. He's an example of a bioengineer who's not necessarily focusing on human health directly, but rather he's still working in engineering and the intersection between engineering and biology. And so, for example, he's developing novel molecules that are inspired by the molecules that green plants have in them to perform photosynthesis. He's trying to see how can we learn from those molecules to create new materials that we can make photovoltaic cells out of. I mean, solar panels like we put up on the roof. So it's bio-inspired research, biomimetic research. It's not biomedical necessarily, but it's definitely bioengineering. And he is a great guy doing really cool research. And finally, Professor Ting Zhang is doing super cool research as well that's health relevant, but her systems that she studies are coral and algae in the ocean and how they have a symbiosis between them, because it turns out there's similar symbioses going on between things like bacteria and stuff inside of our bodies. And so if we can understand symbiotic relationships in the natural world, we can learn things about what's happening in the human body as well. Whew, that's a lot. I hope that among those 21 folks there, you found something that interested you, hopefully several folks that were interesting. If you want to learn anything more about any of them, like I said, go to the website shown here at the bottom, and you can learn a lot more about them. All right, on to the nuts and bolts of what a degree in bioengineering at UC Riverside really looks like. This is our course plan. This is sort of the Bible that our students pin up on the wall in their dorm room or whatever and start to cross things off as they work through them. Or if you come in with some AP credits or transfer credits, if you're coming from another institution, this is what we sit down with you and go through. You need to complete everything shown on this to receive a degree in bioengineering from UCR. And so I'll highlight, oh, by the way, this document, the latest version of it's available at the website shown there in red at the bottom, so you can get this and print out your own version of it if you want. I'll highlight a few things on this. First, I'll show that the bulk of the bioengineering courses occur in the third and fourth year curriculum. So everything highlighted there in yellow is shown there. Now, there's a couple bioengineering courses that occur in the first and second year, but maybe our major is a little unique because, you know, bioengineering, like I said before, you need a very broad foundation across a lot of sciences and other skills, math, computer programming, physics, a lot of foundation that we have to build in the first 2 years before you're ready to start building real bioengineering content on it in the third and fourth years. And so that's reflected here in the curriculum. But you can read the names of some of those highlighted courses in the third and fourth years and get a feel for the sort of topics that we guide our students through in their junior and senior years. We also have 4 technical elective spots there. So I like to highlight this because a nice feature of the bioengineering major is that we give students the opportunity to customize it slightly to reflect their interests. Again, bioengineering is broad, and most of our students aren't interested in every aspect of bioengineering. You know, they come in with 1 or 2 specific areas that intrigue them, and we want to give them the opportunity to customize the major to explore those areas a little further. So this is our current list of those technical electives. You have to choose from 4 of these, and if you glance through the list there, you see they run the gamut, everything from tissue engineering to medical diagnostics and imaging systems to how humans and technology interact to all kinds of things. So hopefully you can look through that list and see at least 3 or 4 things that would interest you enough that you'd want to choose those as one of your technical electives. And so there's also these 3 things that I highlight here, okay? Senior design, bioengineering 175, A, B, and C. So if you're interested and you might be on the fence between, for example, some students are considering between bioengineering and biology, perhaps, right? Or bioengineering and some other one of the sciences. And this is perhaps one of the most important differences between any of the engineering majors and the science majors. And so it's something, if you're on the fence between science and engineering, I want to call your attention to this and you can decide if this interests you or not. The engineering majors all require a senior design or a capstone experience. The size of it, the duration of it might vary from one program to another. In bioengineering, it takes the entire 4th year, all 3 quarters of the 4th year. You see 175 A, B, and C from left to right down there. All 3 quarters are occupied by senior design. And it is it's a tough process. But it's something that when students are done with it, they are extremely proud of what they've accomplished. And so I highlight that because it's a big distinction between bioengineering and other fields like chemistry or biology or psychology or et cetera, right? There's typically not this sort of capstone experience in those. I personally like how we have this capstone experience. It's really, I like to describe it as the end of your actual schooling and the beginning of your career, because it looks less and less like a class when you're in it and more like an actual job. It's meant to reflect what that's going to feel like when you graduate. So a word about senior design. Like I said, it's all your whole 4th senior year. I mean, you do other things during your senior year, but senior design does span your entire 4th year. It is the end of your classes and the beginning of your career. And our teams are nationally competitive. This picture here was from a few years ago, but this is the Mantis team who developed a smart steering wheel for, oh, I don't have enough time to tell the whole story. It was amazing. They won the top bioengineering senior design project in the entire UC system in 2017. In 2018, the next year, this team that developed a smart ankle brace, the Talaria team, was an award winner at the Biomedical Engineering Society national meeting in Atlanta, Georgia. And just recently, in 2024, see, there's this yearly debut challenge, it's called. This is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health. And it basically, all of the bioengineering capstone projects from pretty much all of the universities that offer bioengineering or biomedical engineering, they all can get together and compete to find out who are the top senior designers, top capstone projects in national bioengineering programs. And so the 2024 winning teams are listed there on the right, and you can see a familiar name and the number 2 spot there. And we're here with some other, slouchy schools like, Stanford and places. I have to purposefully misspell Stanford because I'm a Berkeley grad. I apologize for that. But you see, we're in good company, is what I'm saying here. So this is a really rigorous experience, senior design, that has really great results for a lot of the teams. So to show you an example of that, this is just a 2 or 3 minute long video I want to play that was made by, this video was made by that winning team called Octave, who won that second place position in the national competition this year. So I'll start the video playing.
Hearing loss is the 4th leading cause of disability worldwide, and approximately 70 million people suffer from conductive hearing loss, which is characterized by damage to the eardrum and the small middle ear ossicles. Available diagnostic tools for this type of hearing loss have severe limitations, however. The ossicles are obstructed by the eardrum on otoscope exams. CT scans cannot effectively resolve the ossicles, and there are very few options for quantitative assessment of hearing loss. Our device, an endoscopic imaging probe, will address these limitations by providing high-resolution real-time imaging and functional imaging of the middle ear. On display is live OCT imaging of a finger taken with our endoscope. The resolution is high enough to distinguish the epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, and individual sweat glands near the surface. In addition to OCT imaging, there are several usability features that we've integrated into the design. The probe can be mounted onto an articulating arm for a wide range of secure positioning. Additionally, the probe can be mounted to a pistol grip for handheld operation. The visible reference laser increases the speed and convenience of acquiring the imaging subject.
We included a comprehensive software suite that displays live OCT, viroscope, and virometry data on a touchscreen LCD remote that can be mounted on a tripod. Its setup is inspired by existing ultrasound display systems. It also allows for the input of patient data for future integration into electronic medical records.
To demonstrate these usability features, we will show the process for acquiring an image within the ear. For this demonstration, I will advance the system towards my tympanic membrane and then turn on the visible reference light. As you can see, it's shining directly on the umbo, and it corresponds to exactly where the OCT system will be shining if it were turned on. I'll now turn off the visible reference laser and safely retract the system from my ear. The demo video was recorded, saved, and automatically exported to a file with the patient's identification. There are several novel design concepts within our device, such as the miniaturized kinematic mounts, the integrated optical layout and compound stage system, and the software suite. We are currently acquiring funding to place non-provisional patents on these designs. Our strategy to enter the market is to provide a pre-production model to our sponsor, Loma Linda University Veterans Affairs, who will invite local ENT specialists to trial the probe and generate initial demand. The overall performance and usability of our complete hardware and software package will make it easier for these physicians to adopt this new technology. Because our device will provide revolutionary improvements to conductive hearing loss diagnostics, we expect it will have widespread adoption in the long term, and we hope you're as excited as we are to see this happen.
All right, so hopefully that gives you a taste of, the sophistication of some of these senior design projects, how interdisciplinary they are, all the different things that come together to make a successful one. But also, I think the pride that those students have in what they've accomplished is also evident in that video. And so when you're done with all of this, with senior design, we have this awesome event every year called Senior Design Day, where all of these teams get to come together and show off the amazing things that they've accomplished. So that's a wonderful, fun event to look forward to every year. And you're welcome to attend it even if you're not a senior. In fact, we encourage it. I'll even highlight a few other resources that are available to these students and to our students in general. The university really believes in entrepreneurship, and some of the very best senior design projects, like that Octave system that you just saw, you could argue those have real potential to be successful commercial products if the students want to keep pursuing them after they graduate. The university has a lot of programs in place to support and encourage that kind of entrepreneurship, and so I just put this up as an example of the sorts of resources that are available to our students. I also want to say a word, and I alluded this earlier, about undergraduate research. So this is about when you are in university, the opportunity to not just go to our classes and get your degree, but also come into our research labs, right, and contribute to the kind of cutting edge research that the professors are doing in the University of California, Riverside. Research is really one of the most valuable things that a university like UCR has to offer you. The degree is important, your GPA is important, don't get me wrong, but if you are, wherever you end up, if you're not trying to take advantage of research opportunities, you're really missing out of perhaps one of the most extraordinary opportunities that comes from the 4 years that you're in university. It's essentially required at this point to have research experience if you're interested in going into grad school, so like a master's or a PhD. I think it's true of med school as well. That would be an enormous benefit for a med school applicant. And really, whatever you're going to do with your bioengineering degree after you graduate, research experience is going to be a major plus to have on your resume for whatever you're doing next. And then finally, also important, research is an opportunity to test drive a career path, right? Find out what you like, find out what you don't. Like I said before, bioengineering is incredibly diverse. And so when you graduate, you're going to be on the job market. You're going to be looking for the jobs, the particular areas of bioengineering that interest you the most. Well, how do you know which ones are your favorites? Well, you'll have some insights from our classes to be sure, but it would be even better to have on-the-job experience in these different fields thanks to working in our labs. And that's what we offer to students. How do you find these opportunities? Well, back to this website. You're welcome to look through our 21 biographies and reach out to folks once you're a student here and talking about these opportunities. The university also has a university-wide portal where research opportunities all across the UCR campus are listed, and they explain the process of applying to and getting into these labs. Many of these opportunities are relevant for bioengineers. Bioengineers, another analogy I like to use is that we're sort of the Swiss Army knife of a major, because we can be potentially useful in so many different fields. And that's true of the research going on all across this campus as well. There's even these nice programs that I've listed, a few of them shown here, that exist to support and promote undergrad research in our labs. Some of these, for example, are summer programs. They might even provide a little stipend, a little financial support to have you working in our labs. So look into these sorts of things if you're interested in them. They are really good opportunities, and many, many of our students take advantage of them. Once you've been in a lab and done amazing things, you get to do cool things and show off and brag about your accomplishments, including writing up your research results and publishing them in our own undergraduate research journal, which is an old copy of is shown there on the left. And we have events like the Undergraduate Research Symposium that occur several times a year and give you the opportunity to present a poster or even give a talk about your research. These are wonderful, wonderful experiences to have on your resume, and really worth your time. And we have other resources available to you as well. A relatively new addition to the bioengineering department is a whole makerspace dedicated to bioengineering. The biomakerspace is spread across a few rooms in our material science and engineering building. And so it has tools that are kind of like a makerspace if you've ever used a conventional makerspace, only our tools are customized for the kinds of problems that you need to solve in bioengineering projects. So culturing cells, microscopes to look at tissue samples, things like that. These resources are available primarily for you, and you're the main user of this space as undergrads doing senior design or doing research in our labs. I'll also start to conclude by highlighting some of the student organizations that are available to you as well. In fact, we have Fifi joining us tonight, who's one of the officers in our Biomedical Engineering Society student chapter. So Biomedical Engineering Society, or BMES, is the national professional organization for bioengineers and biomedical engineers. And so we are one of a bunch of universities that have a chapter locally here. What's unique about ours is award-winning, right? For a couple years now at the national BMES meeting, our student chapter of the BMES has won significant awards. And so we're particularly good at preparing students for careers, for doing outreach events to the community, really cool stuff. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, it's a wonderful way for students, especially first-year students, to connect with older students in the major, because that's important. You can learn so much from them because they are going through or have gone through what you're going to experience in the future. You can learn a lot from those folks, and organizations like BMES are a wonderful way to meet them. And BMES is one of a slew of student organizations in the College of Engineering, and they're all fantastic, and there's probably several of these that might be worth your consideration, and you'd be interested in taking part with them. And with that, that was a crash introduction to the bioengineering major at UCR. I hope it was informative and helpful for you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the major or UCR. And thank you for joining us.